So software, Maya, Blender, 3D Max, all these things, all these different softwares are incredibly important when you start as an animator. However, many animators, just like getting reference, keep telling you all the time that software doesn't matter, right? And it's all about the craft of animation. So what is this thing that we have within us that we feel like the software that we pick is what is going to make us or break us, right? This thing about Blender versus Maya, right? Free software versus paid. Why the professionals only use the Maya and the 3D Maxes of the world, right? All these things are incredibly important when you get started. However, they fizzle out as you become more experienced. So I'd like to talk about that experience and why that happens for all the young animators out there that are still debating about, if I start with Blender, would that affect my career if I actually work anywhere with Maya? And if I actually work with Maya, do I get stuck with Maya forever? And do I have to learn Blender? Let's talk about it in this video today. Let's do it. So welcome to another video. I hope you're all well. Welcome to all the new subscribers that subscribed for the past month. We actually got about 2,000 subscribers this month. Past month, or so Google tells me, which is amazing. Incredibly humbled for all new subscribers, for all the new people in the channel. Massive welcome once again. Thank you so much for the support. Highly appreciate it. For a smaller YouTuber like myself with only 40,000 subscribers, even though it sounds like a lot as I say it out loud, it's incredibly important for you to kind of like press that like button, comment, engage with the content if it feels engaging to you. And to me, it feels incredibly fulfilling when you guys kind of like reply back and comment back in these videos and tell me what you guys think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Have you experienced anything like it? That to me is incredibly fulfilling. For all those that are watching this video and you don't know me, I'm Harvey Newman. I've been working in the games industry for 20 plus years as an animator, lead animator, director, all kinds of stuff, designer as well at some point. And now I have my own game studio that I'm starting with a bunch of other talented people. And basically I'm here to share the experience both professionally and now as a business owner with all of you as my career progresses. Enough about that. You guys are here to find out about this content. I'm gonna start by telling you guys about, like, a little bit as usual about my journey and some of the things that I've found through my journey that proved wrong, even though I thought they were incredibly important. My passion for animation, my love for animation started when I did a bachelor's degree in London, in the West London University, and it was called Animation Specialist. And even though we didn't really learn about animation, unfortunately, but we did learn a lot about Maya. And when you first start and you see a piece of software that can do so much like Maya, you can do physics and rendering and like animation and cloth and hair, and there's so many things that you can do that you feel a little bit overwhelmed. And at the same time, it feels like the whole industry is using it. So if the professionals are using it, I better just use this software and there's nothing else that I should do. At the same time, if this is your very first piece of software that you've learned, it feels very overwhelming, because you are used to perhaps using your email or maybe kind of dabble in a few other softwares here and there, but you're not used to actually kind of like delving deep into a piece of software so you can actually learn the craft or do some art and basically spend lots of hours upon hours creating one piece of animation, right? That might not end up being great. And then you have to do it all over again and again and again. So it's a massive time commitment. Gamers, normally we play games for 60 hours, but we have fun throughout. This is not fun. This is grind. This is learning where the buttons are, learning how this setting actually messed up my scene, and it might be simple, but I don't know how to turn it off. And what does this mean? And how do the professionals do it? And what about the graph editor? That's even more buttons. It's so much to think about that for me, as a young want-to-be animator, I thought to myself, I will never learn this software fully. So what I thought to myself was very much like, I need to focus on the animation side of things after I finish my bachelor and just focus on the buttons that I need to press for animation. But even that is incredibly exhausting, and it takes a lot of your time. All of this kind of like takes you into this path of you do a lot of these two things all the time. One, you query everything and you go and search tutorials, and you're always on Google searching how to actually switch off a certain setting, or how to actually change the colors of your viewport, right? Things like that. How can I actually increase my little gizmo thing with the thing that you move your character, right? Things like that are the things that you keep doing. And the second thing is tutorials. You actually spend a lot of time watching tutorials from fellow professionals that tell you what to do, how to do it, and the best way to do it, right? So then you follow it for a bit, but it might not ring true with you specifically, because maybe your workflow is slightly different, or you want to be more of a technical animator or something along those lines. So then you look for more tutorials and more tutorials. And what this all does is reinforce this idea that software is absolutely everything, right? As you go through. And because software is absolutely everything, then you start leaning very heavily on the software of your preference. But as soon as you start leaning on your software of your preference and you start getting comfortable, then all of a sudden it's like, if you're on Blender, for example, like all of a sudden it's like, why is everybody use Maya and I'm in Blender? What does that mean, right? Or if it's the opposite, if I'm in Maya, why is everybody using Blender? Am I missing something, right? Is Blender the future? Is Maya the past? Am I putting my eggs in one basket and actually putting it on the wrong basket? You start kind of like dwelling about these things as you evolve as an animator. And what happens is that eventually, when you get to grips with a piece of software, no matter what it is, you start realizing that it's not so much about the software, it's about your skills. And what I mean about this is that at some point in my career, I actually started learning before university 3D Max. I did a small course in London that it was a 3D Max 3 months course. I remember perfectly. It was incredibly hard for 3 months, but I did it, and that was the first time that I saw 3D software, and you can move things in 3D and you can render things, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then I thought fully like, I'm gonna go into 3D Max. And then when I started learning in university, it was Maya, and then I moved over to professional animator. Thankfully it was Maya as well. So to me it just reinforced that, okay, cool, I'm gonna be good in Maya. But at some point I had to do motion builder. So I felt incredibly frustrated and stressed, and why, and Maya is the future, why are we doing a motion builder and all that stuff. This must have been about 10-15 years ago. Just to kind of put things in perspective, Maya is still here, Motion Builder is still here, 3D Max is still here, they are all still here. And I don't think there's such a thing as like the future of the software and the one thing, the one software to rule them all. It's very much about what do you need to do now. So when that change from Maya to Motion Builder happened, it was because of mocap. Motion capture is very big in Motion Builder. Motion Builder is very big into motion capture because you can actually get more than one character with lots of keyframes in one scene and then have them run in real time, and it's amazing. Maya can do cleanup of motion capture, but you can have to do it at one character at a time. If you do 2 or 3, then Maya starts chugging a little bit, mainly because the renderer, the engine behind the scenes, if you will, is actually not as capable to kind of like deal with lots of frames at the same time, Maya versus Motion Builder. To me, I felt like I was fighting it. I was like, I want to be in the software that I'm comfortable with. And as soon as that kicked in, I started realizing that this journey that we're going through right now as an animator, as an artist, especially with technology involved, it always requires you to learn something new, to keep you off balance. Because as soon as you become too comfortable in one software, you start actually kind of like almost like falling behind, right? And this is not to say that if you have a workflow, if you have like a way of working, you should change it in any ways. But it's just that theory of like always keep learning, because if you don't, you're gonna get bored really quickly. And animation is one of those careers, just like medicine and being a lawyer and all that stuff. You need to continuously learn what's new and what's out there, and what do you need to actually, how do you need to approach it in order to keep yourself, your style, your animations, your work fresh, so you can keep yourself in demand. So the more you open your mind to other pieces of software, the better it is. And also what you realize is that as soon as you learn a little bit of Motion Builder, you don't even have to learn it as much as Maya, because Maya might be the main software. You just have to learn it enough that you know how to do the job. And then you work with Motion Builder for a bit, you know what buttons to press, you know how to export animations, you know how to clean up animations, you go off, do your thing, and whenever you're ready, you come back to Maya, and you are back in your comfort blankie, which is Maya, and then all is well, right? Or if you have a personal project, use Maya, because all is well is what you do best. Knowing at least a little bit of something else, of other software, teaches you how to appreciate what other people are saying good things about. So now for me, the next big hurdle is going to be learn Blender whenever I have time, right? It's been in the back of my mind for ages. And I know many animators, including somebody that I interviewed recently called Mark Masters, and also Pierrick Picot, that I was interviewed not long ago by him, and he's an amazing chap. There's a lot of Blender. Both of these guys are incredibly good at using Blender. And for example, Mark Masters uses Maya during his day job, most likely, and then uses Blender for his tutorials in his channel. Both guys are incredibly good at Blender, and I can see it through their eyes how potentially amazing Blender can be for me specifically, and how I should actually learn it. Now, I don't necessarily need to learn it. I feel like I can actually do anything I want with Maya at this point in time, but I'm very fearful of actually kind of like being stagnant into a piece of software that perhaps might have less features than something else. Another piece of software that I want to try is also Cascador, which is this software that actually allows you to actually kind of like do more physics within the software, and allows you to kind of like have to animate a little less, and it's more pose to pose, and it kind of solves the in-betweens. Those two things are the things that are personal to me and that I need to learn. But one thing is for sure, once you learn animation, no matter what software you pick, no matter if it's Blender, Maya, 3D Max, like Cascador, whatever it is, you can actually take that skill, that raw skill set of knowing how to animate, and then put it on other pieces of software. And it becomes much easier because now you are looking for the right buttons all the time. What happens in the beginning is that you are actually looking for buttons that you don't even know that you need, and then also you are learning about animation and you don't know exactly how to sort out and do animation just yet. So when those two things come together, it becomes really complicated. Now, if you master one piece of software, just like Blender, and you know how to animate, and you know exactly the rules of animation and how to put things together and how to get animation flowing, as soon as you jump across to Maya, all of a sudden you're just looking for the right buttons. Where do I find a graph editor? Where do I find my layers? How can I actually go about this in terms of pose to pose? How can I get my keys to be stepped? All those things are things that you know that you need, and you're just finding exactly where they are, which then allows you to be much more effective at learning the software. So all this to say that you should actually think about one piece of software as just a tool for your animation skills if you want to be an animator, and then learn as much of those skills as possible. So it's not about the software, it's about you, the animator, learning those skills as much as possible. And then once you have those skills are transferable. And if you learned Blender and now you got a job as an animator and you have to use Maya, you just need to find where those buttons are in order for you to actually now work in Maya, right? And it might take you a few months to actually get, comfortable with it. But I've known many animators that were motion builder centric, and they're like, oh my God, I cannot believe that I have to work in Maya, now work in Maya, and they love it. I know the opposite, Maya animators that worked forever in Maya and like the flexibility of Maya, but now working in Motion Builder, I'm like, actually Motion Builder is great for these things, and I prefer to do it in Motion Builder than in Maya. So there's a win for everybody, and every software has a strength, and this is why they actually been around for so long. So there's no such thing as like Blender is better than Maya, or Maya is better than Blender, or Motion Builder is better than Maya. It really depends on the eye of the beholder. It really depends on what kind of project you're working in and what kind of tool is better for the project in hand, right? So Maya, great for studios, lots of different people, because it allows to actually have lots of plugin. You can script a bunch of stuff for Maya, make it your own, make the studio, have lots of tools to collaborate. Great. Blender for free is amazing. Crowdsourced and keeps getting better all the time. Motion Builder, obviously great for motion capture, as I mentioned before, and so on and so forth. Every software is great at something, and they have a lot of great stuff that you can actually learn if you take the time to learn them. Don't get so caught up with this idea that I need to learn a specific software to actually be an amazing animator, and what kind of software and where should I start. Just start. Pick one software, learn animation, and then eventually you can transfer those skills to another software if you need to, and Bob's your uncle, you're good to go. And then when it comes to tutorials, just a little addendum. Tutorials can be very good or very bad for you. It really depends on the person that is teaching you the stuff. Some people that teach tutorials are very much about my method is the best method, and therefore you need to follow my method, otherwise you'll never make it. I'll be wary of people like that because there's no such thing as one way kind of rules them all. In animation, at least, there's many workflows. Every animator, I would argue, has their own workflow tweaked to actually match their skills and their wants and their needs. So it's very much about learning from different people. Because if you learn from different people, you start to see the things that work for you individually, and therefore you actually start to kind of like get better faster because you're just not following one thing. Because if you follow the one thing the one person, what might work well for this one person that is teaching you the tutorial might not work well for your brain, and certain things might not make sense for some reason or another. So this is why learning from different people eventually be like, oh, this actually makes sense now because this other person taught it in this way, and that makes a lot more sense. So just to close up, I want to thank everybody that has been supporting me here in this channel, both with subscriptions and views, but also everybody that joins my club here on the bottom. That's the button that says join just below. Click it. See if you can actually want to become a member, because that support goes a really long way to make sure that I actually do these videos every single week. And also, I want to close up with saying that for all the young animators out there that are actually struggling nowadays, keep strong. The industry will never go away. The industry is here for you. It's going to stay here for forever. And you have to keep strong and make sure that you pick a path and be organized in your ways. Because thinking about myself as a young animator, I'm wishing you all the very best in your animation journey, because it's hard. It's very hard. I hope these videos help you a little bit. And if they do, give it a like, comment below, and let me know what's in your mind right now, what's confusing you. Happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Until next week, stay well, stay safe. Peace.